and gentlemen, I'd like to call the Douglas School Committee to order at 6:35. We had a couple of technical difficulties, that's why we're late getting online with you all. I'd like to call the Douglas School Committee on October 1st, 2025 at 6:35. I'd like to read the Douglas mission statement. The Douglas Public Schools offer a diverse learning experience that meet the academic, social, physical, and emotional needs of all of our students. We provide a safe, supportive, and challenging learning environment in which students may achieve academic success and personal growth. Decisions are made in the best interest of our students. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. I'd like to call our student representatives, Marcus Laveau and Dante Montalabo.
Hi, my name is Marcus Lozo, and I'm here with Dante. We are student council members at Douglas Middle School, and we're excited to share some of the great things happening this fall. Fall sports are in full swing. The middle school cross-country team has already competed in a few meets, including a big race called the Ocean State Invitational last week. With over 25 runners on the team, everyone has been working hard and improving their times each week. They're especially looking forward to an upcoming home meet.
This year also marks the very start of the first middle school volleyball team. 16 members are a part of the team, and so far they have played 5 home games and 1 away game, while learning new skills and new rules. In addition, many middle schoolers are also playing on JV teams for boys and girls soccer, as well as girls volleyball, and they are also enjoying being a part of their teams. Last week, the whole school came together for a special assembly to celebrate the first ever Douglas Middle School members of the National Junior Honor Society. A group of 8th graders were recognized for their dedication and academic achievement.
This Friday is World Smile Day, and Student Council is encouraging everyone to wear yellow and spread kindness. We are also planning an upcoming Spirit Week, which will include the return of an old teacher favorite, Project World Smile Day. More details will be shared with you soon. Academically, students recently took the first STAR test of the year, and teachers are using the results to plan win groups. Progress reports are also coming out this week, so parents are reminded to check their child's grades in PowerSchool.
In 8th grade, students have been busy learning across all subjects. In science, they are studying the scientific method and moon phases. In math, classes are working on multi-step equations, while honor students are learning about exponents and starting scientific notation. Civic classes are exploring citizenship and rights, and English classes are focusing on syllables and vowels. Spanish students are also practicing transitions by working on songs and learning to find coordinates.
7th graders are also diving into new material. In science, they've been learning about potential and kinetic energy and have already completed their first labs of the year. Math classes are working on dividing and multiplying complex fractions and scaling figures and reviewing skills from last year. In world history, students have been studying units of time, practicing time zones, and recently took their first quiz. In ELA, they've been learning about claims and how to write tags to start summaries and the difference between a statement and a claim.
6th graders are off to a strong start as well. In science, they are studying the layers of the earth, while in math, they are practicing how to add and subtract decimals. In history, students are learning about longitude and latitude and exploring different types of maps. In ELA, they are writing letters to their future selves after creating selfies on paper phones and choosing a personal quote to live by for the year.
Thank you for having us, and have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody's got any questions for them? Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here for public comment? Seeing that there is none, any old business we need to discuss?
There is not.
Moving on to new business and the superintendent's report, please.
Thank you. We're going to combine the collaboration and school improvement plans to not have people come up and down and back and forth. So we'll start with Ms. Sosha. And each of the principals, unfortunately, Mr. O'Brien couldn't make it tonight, are going to talk about what they're doing currently and differently for family engagement. One of our goals for this year, again, it's been consistent, is how can we get families more organically involved in our schools? So the principals have come up with some ideas. You know, the buildings already do a lot of things, but they're going to add some additional things. So I'm going to have Cindy and the principals talk about that, and then they'll roll into their school improvement plans, which what they did is they looked at our goals, they looked at the school committee's value and belief statements, they looked at their data, and they came up with 3 or 4 school improvement plans for the year. So I'll turn it over to Cindy.
Okay, thank you. So our family engagement activities, if you could take a look at it, it's pretty packed. So we haven't really added too much to it. The key point, the key highlights for parents would be when the grade level does their activity. So preschool does a gingerbread family event, and grade 1 does the penguin. K, I'm trying to see, where is K on here? Fall extravaganza, that's on Halloween. So that's when we get most of the families that come in. It's a 1 hour. They have to participate in the games with them. It's not just the parents coming and watching and standing there. They go station to station in each activity, and the kids can kind of just go around either the gym or the cafeteria. And so we can accommodate that by using those 2 spaces. But to have everybody there at the same time, we just don't have room for that. So those are nice events. Grade 1, they do a math with the Gigi Penguin theme, so the kids love that. Our book fair on open house night, that one is a huge draw for us. We made $2,700 in Scholastic bucks that we can spend on books this year, so that was huge. We also do the community readers during, we call it Author Week, so we bring in people from the community to read in each classroom. I've brought in our retirees from elementary school and primary, and we've had, you know, depending upon the date we picked, we haven't found the right date. Is it fall that's better, or is it spring that's better? Some of them are traveling, some of them have grandchildren now. So the ones that have come have loved it. They love being back in the room and with the kids and reading to the kids. We almost had to drag somebody out of the room because they didn't want to leave the last time. So that's fun. Field day is always a good day too. We let the parents come for the morning events, and then the afternoon it's more lunch. We do an enrichment program, and then, you know, popsicles in the classroom. So the afternoon is more low key, but the parents can come, they can watch, they move around the rotation with the kids. So other than that, we haven't really added anything. The highlight, of course, for me is the Veterans Day. We love that, but we can't invite parents really to watch that because of the space. So it's more community members and the veteran relatives of our kids.
Creates something every month, which is awesome, to see people inside the building.
Any questions on that? Okay. So the school improvement goal plan, my student goal, of course, I always shoot for the stars here. So I'm still going to stick with 100% of our students are going to demonstrate grade level proficiency or higher in literacy and numeracy as measured by the star reading and the math. We weren't far off last year, so I don't worry about that 100% too much. And just to give you a sneak preview here, our scores right now, starting the year, in kindergarten ELA, we had 79% in green and 1% in red. And in math, we had 75% green and 5% red. In grade 1 ELA, we had 79% green and 0 in red. And grade 1 math, 72% green and 6% red. So, and even that 5 and 6, that could be one student because of the class sizes. So we're going to use the data points that we've been using. We're going to test 5 times. So from now until November, it's about an 8-week window. And we like that November one because when our kids come in, they're not all on the iPad the right way. They're clicking away, so you don't know if you're really getting a true picture there. So it's nice to have that November one to really see, okay, is this the true picture of this child or not? CBMs, That's a little bit challenging too for our kids because they're timed. So we want them to get used to that timed. And it's a quick 1-minute drill on something like numbers or letter names and things like that. But they don't always score well right away because they're not used to it being timed. So we'll continue with that. That will help them too down the road when they're doing timed tests, so.
Excuse me, Ms. Sosha, just for people that are watching at home, can you say what CBM is?
The curriculum-based measures, and they're all on specific skills, and they're really short, so they're quick. And they could do those as much as every 2 weeks, if they wanted to. Okay. My next goal is that I will provide my staff with professional development in ISIL. So we're really proficient with, I feel like, MTSS, UDL. We know what the barriers are. We know how to engage the kids. So we're moving into the ISIL, which we haven't really talked about. And ISIL is a framework for teachers to use so that they can understand how the students learn. So the I is instruction, how we teach. What's the strategy? What are the methods? What are the supports? The curriculum is what we're teaching. So the material, the lessons, the activities that we're using. The E is environment. Where are we teaching it? What does the room look like? Is it conducive to learning? Does it have nice small spaces? How is it set up? And L is the learner. Who do we teach? Their strengths, their needs, their learning styles. So when the teacher can look at all four, they get a better way to identify how they can succeed and what changes the teachers can make to help them succeed. And then along with that, we do another letters here, acronym RIOT. That sounds terrible, but RIOT stands for review. And so we're looking at the past records of students, their work samples, maybe any data from the year before, the STAR data. We're interviewing. The I is interview, so we're talking with parents, we're talking with previous teachers, any of support staff that has worked with that child. And O is observe, so we're watching them in classroom, in different settings. How are they in unstructured settings? How are they at recess? How are they in with a small group, in a large group? How are they on the carpet? And then T is for test, so they're going to use their formal and informal assessments to measure their skills. So the teachers would use RIOT to get a complete picture of their strengths and their needs, and it would help them also to guide instruction. So we're going to go through different things. One session will be on the October PD Day, where we'll go through this, and then I have different scenarios for them to fill out. Here's Johnny, he has this kind of a need. This is what's happening with him. Okay, what's your instruction? Where's the curriculum? And so on. Go right down the list, and what can we do to identify? The third one is the social emotional goal, and that's where we have our monthly themes. The only thing we could add that's different to this is now we're using the Panorama Playbook, which has the SEL lessons, videos, all different activities. So it's not just for my counselor, Mrs. Purvis, when she goes in to do a lesson, the teachers can use it as well. So all the teachers have been shown where is it, they've had time to look at it during our CPT and decide, oh, my class maybe needs this, they're not all the same. So some classes, okay, well, they're tattlers, so maybe there's a lesson in there on tattling. So they had a chance to look at that. So that's my SEL goal. And then my last one is the family engagement. So I had my first parent-principal roundtable with all of one person, but I'm hoping that it will grow. And they had good questions. It's just open for conversation and looking for feedback. It's not anything formal. Hopefully, they'll come. PTO question, what's a good time? I had the PTO say, find out from all of your peeps, what's a good time? And they said, right after drop-off. So I said, okay, we'll do Monday morning right after drop-off, 8:30. And so, one person. So I thank that one person, though, for coming. And that is it for my goals.
It has to start someplace, right? I mean, we did the coffee a couple of weeks ago, and we had 3 parents show up. Right? Well, 4, actually. One left really quick, but you have to start it somewhere. So I appreciate you going and doing that, so thank you so much. Any questions for Ms. Sosha? Thank you so much.
Mr. Haynes. And we'll follow the same script with how we're going to build family engagement, and then your school improvement plan, please.
Yeah, good evening. So for the elementary school, I'll just run down some of the things that we have planned for the upcoming year, just to get families in the school more and more involved and more visible, and have us all interacting with together as a community, right? So these are really community building opportunities. So I'll start with we have the Title I informational meeting. That's not new. That's something that takes place, but that will be taking place soon, and it's a good opportunity for some of the staff to meet with some students, right, or the families of some students. And then that leads into STEM night, and that is also that's not a new event. STEM night is something that we've had. It's a collaboration that we do with the primary school, the elementary school. Our PTO coordinates it, and it's great. We have WPI comes in, and they pose challenges to the students. And I think last year it was they needed to make something for a pet, right? Just a way for some kind of physical accommodation for a pet. And it was very, very engaging, and it was a great activity and a great way to introduce kids to STEM. And our STEM program is just it's become super vibrant at the school. We're going to build off of that. I'll get to that in a little bit. But Amanda Herman, our STEM teacher, is wonderful. And so she'll be there. She'll be participating. But that's always a great night. Something that we are bringing into the building is bullying and cyber safety presentation for families. It's just something I'm doing with I reached out to the district attorney's office, and that event will actually be a family event where a majority of it will be geared more for those 4th and 5th graders. A lot of talk around like phone use and things like that, and but it will be geared for families, most of it, and then towards the last like 15 or 20 minutes of the event, we'll open up the gym to the kids that are in attendance. So then it will just become parents, and basically the person doing the presentation can talk to the parents directly about things that they might want to look for, but not have the kids there to hear about that. So it's kind of a 2-part event, but it's just a way just to have families more involved, more informed about things that they can do. I mean, a lot of times I know my own kids are way ahead of me in terms of technology, so any guidance, advice I can get has always been helpful. So that will be taking place in December. We're going to have our winter chorus and family showcase. That used to be something that took place during the day. I flipped it last year out into the evening, trying to make it a little bit more accessible. We had great turnout, and we're going to expand on that event. It's mostly just a chorus performance, but there's going to be some STEM component to it, some art as well, music, PE. So we're going to make it a little bit a little bigger event, more than just a concert that's geared for the families of the chorus members. We want to have more people coming in that night, and it's a great kind of time of year to celebrate, right? So we'll be doing that. We also are going to be doing in January. We're going to be doing the Kids Heart Challenge. So we'll be partnering with the American Heart Association. Dr. Vieira brought in the American Heart Association, so we got to have a presentation for some of their offerings for students, and they do a presentation. There's one that's middle school specific, and then there's one that's elementary school specific about just kind of leading a healthier lifestyle, but they give the kids a challenge. So some of this stuff will be coming home, and there's different incentives that they have that they build into it for the kids. It's very colorful, very, very kid-friendly, but a great way just to educate the kids on healthier lifestyles. So again, that will be taking place in January. Then in March, the name is a bit of a placeholder, but it's called the Foursquare-a-thon. It's basically going to be elongated Foursquare game that we're going to have. It's going to be a fundraiser that we're going to do in the gym, and I'm going to be working with Mr. Ringette about having some high school students come in and help. We have 2 beautiful Foursquare courts right outside of our cafeteria every day that kids kind of don't use, and I go out there and I'll play every now and again because I come from a culture where, like in schools where that's a thing, like Foursquare, and I think it's such a great game. It's physical, like, you know, kids are moving their bodies, but there's also turn taking, you know, rules. There's a social component to it, and there's a lot of sort of those soft skills that kids can develop playing Foursquare. It's just not part of the vibe at our school, and I thought that maybe what I'll do is I'll work with Mr. Smith, and we'll get kids really learning how to play it, and then we'll do a build-up to an event that will also be a fundraiser. So I've started this conversation with the PTO. I presented to them as a possible opportunity for us to partner on a fundraising, and we can identify a beneficiary if it's some kind of fundraising event. And anyway, though, so I'm just calling it Foursquare-a-thon because it's going to be a long, a Friday. It'll and there'll be time slots, and families will be invited as well. So families are going to be invited to come in and participate as well. And I just think it will be kind of a good family event that we'll do. And it's just stay tuned. The more details will come. So. And then we're going to have our family book fair night. There hasn't been a book fair at the elementary school since I've been there, but we're actually able to pull it off. So we've got some people that will be working on that. We've designated a date, so that's going to be something new since I've been there that we'll be doing kind of a great way. Hopefully we'll get some nice weather that night. And then lastly, on the 14th of May, we're going to be doing the Related Arts Night. Last year, for those of you that may have gone to that event, that was it was kind of a first time. It was like a bit of a pilot, and we didn't know how it would go. Weather didn't really cooperate, but we had Mr. Smith playing kickball up in the gym, and it had this unbelievable turnout. I didn't know what the turnout was going to be like, and then it just so happened I was on an interview committee, and that night I was in the interview in the library, and the event started, was set to start a half an hour later, and people were just coming into the school in streams, and I was a little stressed out because I wasn't out there to help sort of monitor it all, but I was excited that it was, so well attended, and then that part of the evening is followed by the PTO family picnic. So we do it together, but it was just like I said, we just tried it out last year, and we're definitely going to do it next year, and we're going to think bigger and hopefully get better weather. But that's it for our activity. So I hope that those look appealing. Any questions?
I have two really quick.
Sure.
Well, one's a comment, super excited about the book fair night. When I came to open house, a couple of families who had come from the primary said, how come we don't have a book fair up here? So I think people will be really excited about that. And then really quick, on the bullying and the cyber safety, do you think that will be recorded? That presentation?
Would you?
I was thinking, if those scenarios come up, if those situations come up and parents are looking for a resource, it would be great for you to have that video
Sure.
to be like, if you didn't make our thing, here's this video.
So, that brings up an interesting question, because I had the opportunity, I could have potentially done it virtually. But in this, I want to get people coming into the school, so that would have been more accessible. We could have videotaped it, but when there's someone really there, and like I said, then the kids can kind of go off to the gym. But I can talk to Mr. V, and we can look into,
I was just thinking if
Yeah.
people can't make it, I really hope they do come into the school and get to go off and all those things. I was just thinking that would be a great resource.
for those who can't make it,
Can't
to
make
have
it.
it. Yeah, I think it's a great idea, so I can look into that, absolutely.
I know when I did it here a few years ago, we did it virtually because we were in the COVID era, and they gave us a copy of the slide deck
Oh, nice.
to post as well, so
Good.
those are two options.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll go into the school improvement plan, and let's see. So the first one, school improvement plan, goal number 1, student learning. Goal is improved academic performance in mathematics through grade level team collaboration and data-driven instruction. So ultimately, what we're trying to do is, like a big, something there is grade level team collaboration. So when it's come to our teams working together, I'm trying to increase the level of collaboration that takes place amongst the grade level teams. They always collaborate a lot, but I'm putting a greater emphasis on the math this year. So there seems to be, just based on scores, a greater need there. So I'm going to be designating actually 2 of our CPT times a month. The first and the third is designated to focusing on the math and the math data and identifying interventions. We created a schedule at the elementary school, so every team is every teacher is, from each team is teaching the same thing at the same time, so they're all teaching math together, and we're basically all lockstep in terms of each grade level for the math instruction. So that way, when we get together for CPTs, they're all doing the same. They have the same lessons coming up. We're focusing on the same thing. We're identifying the same areas that seem to be creating stumbling blocks for kids and creating interventions to overcome that. So it's just really kind of a tightening of the teams with a focus on the math and more time used to look at the math data. So that's just something that we're focusing on. And then what we're looking for is by the end of the year, the grade level teams will have an average student growth percentage of 50, as defined by our end of year STAR assessment. So that's what we're looking for each grade level. So basically, each teacher will aim for that for their class, and then collectively as a grade, that's the score that we're looking to attain. So that's the measurable component of the goal. But ultimately, working together to attain this and doing the same number of STAR assessments as well, looking at the data closely. I think I mentioned that we started the year by having an intro to Go Math, which is our base curriculum that we have. So we kind of went right back to the start so everyone knows, and there's been some updates, and there's a new digital component to it that they've added over the last couple of years that the teachers are all actually using, and it's a great intervention tool. So that's really what our focus is in terms of the student learning. Any questions about that? And let's see, for our next one, school improvement goal number 2, professional practice, improve social and emotional learning through character, trait, and competencies instruction. I want to add that one in. So with that, I've come up here multiple times and talked about our tiger traits, right? Those are wonderful traits, part of our core values. We celebrate them every day at our school. The book today, the kids were coming down, and it was wonderful, right? However, with Panorama, we have our SEL survey, right? And those are something that they don't perfectly align with our tiger traits, but they're additional skills and competencies that our kids need to develop, right? And we are assessed on it, right? So we take the assessment, we do the assessment at the beginning of the year, and we do the assessment at the end of the year, and it will actually be able to have establish a measurable goal for us to go for, right? And so one of the things that we're doing here is by June 2026, they'll demonstrate improvement in no less than 80% of Panorama's SEL competency areas, as demonstrated in the end of the year assessment. So working with a school adjustment counselor to go in, teach these competencies. I'm going to be doing, in one of our staff meetings, we're actually going to have the teachers, we're going to break down all of those competencies and just how the questions are posed, and we're going to discuss how best to teach those and incorporate them into morning meeting, and really just kind of expand our skill set as a school in terms of addressing the students' social emotional needs, but with an end goal of how they perform on this assessment. So are there any questions about that? Okay. And then lastly, improving student attendance through shared responsibilities. These sound very familiar because my goals that I went over, right? And so, but I like that we're on the same page, right? And the teachers a lot of the teachers are doing the same, of course. But again, family engagement goal is improve student attendance through shared responsibilities, right? So what we're now doing is that we still have high levels or as of last year, we had pretty significant levels of students missing a lot of school. And this year, we're trying to be a little bit more direct, hold families a little bit more accountable, right, in terms of having their kids come to school. So the goal is for us to actually go from 40%, which is what it was last year, of students missing 10 or more days of schools, to 20. So we're looking to cut it in half. And we're actually looking to have kids get to school on time too. So we're being a little bit more direct in terms of, when kids are late, why were you late? In reinforcing, not in an accusatory tone, but just reinforcing it with the kids, making phone calls, sending letters, just making sure kids are coming to school. If we see an extended like 2 or 3 days, find out what's going on, and just try to be more supportive in having more kids come to school. So, and we as a staff, with our staff meetings, are going to develop a plan for outreach on a school-wide basis just to increase that. And we've actually seen, knock on wood, we have seen a pretty, we're off to a good start in terms of students having a lot of absences. There are very, very few, so we're off to a good start, and we're just hoping to keep that going. But then the flu season's going to hit, and that can all go out the window. But But anyway,
Don't put that in the universe.
what's that?
Don't put that out in the universe.
Yes. But that's also something that we as a staff will work on together. And we want kids to come to school, right? It's where they should be, and we're going to do everything to have them, to get them there as much as often. So that is the third goal.
Any questions?
Mr. Haynes, I just, and you might not have this with you tonight, but I think it would be interesting. So it says on here, school refusal. These are second, third, and fourth graders. So we don't know if they're refusing to go to school, right? Like, we don't know what the barrier is. We don't know if there's anxiety. I would like to learn a little bit more about the numbers and what the barriers are. Like, how many of those kids are on IEPs? How many of those kids, you know, so, like, I really think we need to know the why, because I think, and didn't do anything wrong here, but school refusal puts the onus on the child.
Right.
And we don't know why they didn't come.
Right.
We don't know if there's some school-based anxiety component. And yes, we need to get them here. We want them here. We want them to learn. But I think when they come in the door, the first comment would be, I'm so happy you're here. What happened today? Why are you late? Not having that first thing be like, where were you? Why
Right.
were you late?
Well,
And
yeah.
I'm not, it's where we're all getting programmed that this is what we have to do to get kids into school. But if there's a mom out there, or a dad, or a caregiver out there that's watching, we want your kid to come to school. We don't want a gotcha.
Right.
We want your kid to come to school. And I've been the mom that's come in with, Mrs. So, she's seen me many times, my hair everywhere. Sometimes I used to come with a towel in my head, but I got my kids to school. And I think, I appreciate that this is a goal and I understand the why, but we don't want to penalize people, we want
Right.
to hold people up. So I just,
Terminology.
I went through a period in my life where I was taking my kids to school, and I was thinking that it was going to be this like wonderful every day. I get to kiss them goodbye and no,
I don't think that's
that was not
half
it.
the time.
It was it wasn't like that. So I've been there and I get it. And all of us in the office, we're all parents ourselves, right? And so just know that we're definitely will show grace, you know. But also not look away, right? Just work with him. And there is some of that refusal that's gone on, and we're working. That's sort of we're definitely more sensitive when that's the case. That's a more complex situation.
Well, there could be some school-based anxiety happening
Exactly.
rather than a
Yep.
willful refusal.
Exactly, and we're actually working with students right now. We have a great our school adjustment counselor is working with a few families on that, and it's been it's been going very, very well. She's very skilled in that area. So, but we wanted to put it on the list too, just as a just another point to it that we're addressing. Yeah, but sensitively, yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
All right.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Reggett, you're gonna do a triple dip here. Yeah. Okay? So, Mr. Reggett is going to start off with talking about family engagement. The other thing him and Bob have been working on, and we touched on it last year, and they've already done some stuff, is that collaboration between the middle school and the high school. So Rob's gonna talk about both of those, and then go into his school improvement plan before we do our fun first reading on competency determination.
Thank you for having me.
So you can pick which one you do first, family or...
Excellent. I'm going to start with community events
All right.
and family engagement.
All right.
I think that's just, might as well follow the pattern. So under community events, obviously the high school has various events already kind of embedded into it, such as various sporting events, drama club, plays, things of that nature, and music nights from the band and the chorus. So some of those are already embedded. Mr. Vega was kind enough to kind of help me along the way with this, and he kind of put a few more things out there for me to kind of bring us along. So we have Haunted Hallways, obviously, that is put on by our student council. That comes up in October. I've been in conversations with the counseling department to bring back certain types of nights, and so we're scheduling our program of studies nights, so also kind of like a pathways night in January. We felt that was probably the best month that we should do that. We're going to offer a public walkthrough through one of our favorite events of the year. That's our Winter Carnival in February. So every year, the kids will decorate the school, they paint the windows, they get things all ready and geared up, and the night before, it's ready to roll. And I think that's kind of like the perfect night to kind of bring parents in if they want to come in, or anybody from the public for that matter. If they want to come in, we can take a little tour of what's going on. And we just finalized kind of a date that, today for our college prep night for our students. We're going to kind of focus on our junior class, but our seniors are more than welcome to come to that as well, due to the fact of what we want them to be able to do between, March and the summer, and then what they need to do from the summer through the rest of the time. And again, we've got plays, we've got our art shows. Those are common things that we continue to have each month. And that kind of sums that part of the process in it. The other part of the process, because there's multiple parts, obviously, I don't like coffee, so I don't go to coffee houses. But I like Gregory's. I like the Grill on Main, I've been to the 5 pizza places, they're all good. So I'll be spending some quality time out there, one night a month, and getting that out to families as to kind of like what night would be best, and go from there. See who comes, see who wants to maybe have a slice with me, and ask me whatever they want to ask going through the process. So there's that family engagement, kind of bringing them in, hopefully getting them involved, letting them ask questions in a free space, essentially. So that's my, essentially my school improvement goal as well. I'm going to kind of go in reverse order here for my goals, because it kind of leads into the last thing we get to talk about. Under our professional practice goal, we're looking at school culture. This boils down to some of our SEL pieces that we've seen, but also through other data points that we've seen through various surveys with our students. Some of the eye-opening information through the vocal survey that comes in after MCAS for our sophomores. We don't see who answers what, but we do see basically the idea of what's going on around the school. It was very supportive of some of the SEL data that we had already had. Plus it opened our eyes on a few other pieces. So each month we'll be focusing on some aspect of the data that we do have, and kind of going through a bit of a training as to how to target these pieces. I don't want to get into detail because some of it's more sensitive than others, but some of the information that kind of comes back is student engagement. What are they, how are they engaged? Are they not engaged? Are they worried too much about their grades, so they're not really worried about the curriculum that they're learning, just worried about getting the A for this piece? So those are some of the undertones of what we've seen, and so we have some work to do in kind of getting students to be like, your grade will come. Let's get through this piece. You'll see how the grade will kind of make it. So, so we have some targeted pieces there each month that we're going to kind of focus on, whether it be safety and security of school, student engagement, class environment, those types of areas. Moving up to my student learning goal. Okay, so student learning goal. This one was interesting. In July, the Department of Education came out with a new competency determination for all public school districts. Obviously, being a public school district, we have to follow suit. They presented this piece to kind of take place of what the MCAS used to do, which was show essentially a competency and a mastery in various subjects. I mentioned the word mastery at the last school committee meeting, kind of as a comment on the side, but we're going to talk a little bit more about it tonight. Our Our goal is to create a plan that will be accessible to all of our students so that we could potentially graduate all of our students. That way, it's just there. They just have to run with it. They have to take it and they have to run with it. We don't want to leave any student behind. We don't want to leave any student, sitting there searching as, what do I need to do? We want to give them multiple pathways. We want to provide them multiple, because that's part of it, is it's not just this, it's not just that. What else can they do to show that they have reached this level of mastery in these various subjects? The great news that we heard was that this is going into effect for our current senior class. So we have to kind of put it in play sooner rather than later, which is going to kind of force us to make sure that we look at every single one of our seniors to make sure that we know that every one of our seniors has a pathway to graduation. And that's kind of where it begins for us. And ultimately, that's our goal, is to graduate every student.
Questions on the school improvement plan?
How many seniors do you have this year?
I want to say it's about 68, plus or minus 1 or 2.
What's the Mass General Hospital survey that you guys are doing?
The Mass General Hospital Survey, we've partnered with MGH for a few years now. They help cover our SBIRT screenings and things like that. So it kind of helps.
Oh, what screening?
The SBIRT screenings kind of help us with chemical health.
What's SBIRT stand for?
Oh.
Just
What's
what,
it
just,
test?
just
But,
tell, like,
yeah, but ultimately, it's designed
Substance
around
abuse.
substance use, chemical health programs, things like that.
Sorry.
Right, I'm like, it doesn't always come
No,
straight
that's
to the
okay.
mind, but that's the idea of what it focuses around. Students have the option, if they want to meet with one of our counselors, to put in their student ID at the end, but they don't have to, which is why it's completely anonymous. But it gives us a feel as to kind of what our population is really experiencing outside of here without a shameful piece to it, essentially. Anytime I talk about substance use, I never use the word abuse, I always say use, because at the same time, if they're using, there's a reason why they're using. There's background behind that, whether it be, home, or whether it be here, or whether it be peer influence or whatnot. There's a multitude of reasons. And, if we have information about that, do we have resources? And MGH has, the partnership's been nice because they do provide us with resources to help with these types of students. It's kind of like years ago, a student being caught with THC would go through an expulsion process and be expelled. Period, end of story. Okay? Now, we go through an expulsion hearing, yes, because that's state law, but we have things to provide in place to help these students along, so maybe their use isn't as much. Maybe we can reduce some of that. Maybe we can, help educate them as to why maybe they shouldn't be using, why it's really a 21-plus thing, things like that. So it does give us that buffer right there, which is very, very appreciative.
no, that's helpful. I just knew
Yep.
that it was getting done, and I was confused with what VOCA was versus that, so.
Okay, yep.
All right.
Any other questions? Please don't ask me what SBIRT stands for, because it's just not
Sorry.
here.
And then we're going to do now, and I just want to have this break for anyone who's watching, the high school competency determination first reading of the policy. As we know, as Rob alluded to, the MCAS was eliminated as a way to show mastery for students. So last year, the committee voted on, and we had to do this for the Department of Education and upload it, what classes our students would take to show competency. This year, by December 31st, we have to show how we can guarantee that they've showed mastery in those classes. And we have to provide multiple pathways for the students to be able to show mastery, that if they can't do it one way, they have multiple options. So what Rob's going to present, and we'll do the 3 readings, because we need to do the 3 readings, and we'll upload it to the DESI portal, is how we're going to, in each of these areas, in English, math, and science, have students demonstrate mastery in these classes in order to earn their competency determination to earn a diploma.
So to begin with the competency determination, I'm going to start with classes that the Department of Ed is kind of requiring, okay? Under their requirements for ELA, they're stating any 2 ELA classes out of 4 versus primarily ELA 9 and ELA 10 as that we're accustomed to. For math, they're still looking at Algebra 1 and Geometry, and they're just stuck on Algebra 1 and Geometry, so that's where that is. For science, they've expanded it. There's 4 courses now for science. It's biology, chemistry, physics, or tech and engineering. And then, starting with the current junior class, it will include 1 year of U.S. history. So, those are the course requirements under what the Department of Ed's guidelines are. That's the easy part. The more difficult part falls under mastery. Okay, so mastery, they wanted to make sure that everybody had multiple avenues. So going to a Department of Ed webinar back in, I want to say it was July, August timeframe. We went through the process. They told us kind of what they were looking for, what they weren't looking for. We got to ask questions, things like that. So what kind of came out of it is, yes, they recommended 2 options. They said, let it be your final exam and maybe create a portfolio for it. And I said, okay. So I take this information, we talk about it. I've talked about it with the department heads on several occasions, talked about it with staff on several occasions. They didn't like certain aspects, they did like other aspects. So we came to an idea of combining the mid-year exam and the final exam. Some of that was predicated on the fact that a college student doesn't have to take an exam in June for the material they learned in September. So that was part of the process there. So we're looking at an average score of a 65, which is a passing score here at Douglas, between the 2 exams. Second piece is, well, what if the mid-year and final aren't enough? We currently partner with STAR Renaissance and STAR Testing, but I'm looking to maybe expand that to whatever model we might be using at the time. So we're not just pigeonholed to STAR, where we say, okay, if we have a district-wide evaluation process where we offer these evaluations on a regular basis, through that assessment, the students should be able to hit a grade equivalency of 11 to show mastery, because that would technically equate to 2 years of ELA and your freshman and sophomore years of math. So we looked at that and said, okay, there's an option. Third option is the portfolio option. Okay? Portfolio option is, again, an option. These are just 3 separate pathways to do it. Now, some students will want to take the mid-years and finals, and because they know that their mid-years and finals, they always study hard, they always make sure that's good, and they make sure that they're honed in on those. Other students might not be able to put it all on 2 tests. So let's spread it out over the year and see what's going on there. And other students don't test well at all. So we have the portfolio option sitting here as another viable piece, another avenue. With that portfolio option, I gotta pull it up. Here we go. A lot of this is geared on the stuff that they're doing in classes, where they started, where they ended, what improvements have they shown, what materials have they covered. If they went through a chapter test and they failed. Did they do their test corrections on that? Something like that to show, oh, wait a second, no, I can do this. Those are the type of artifacts we'd be looking inside of a portfolio. So, completed study guides, maybe some summaries and analysis of various texts for your ELA and history classes, lab reports for your science classes. These are all the various artifacts that we would look into to say, okay, have you shown this mastery? Question with the portfolio, who do you turn it into? What is the process of grading? So we looked at it as a 0 through 4 scale for each piece, where 0 is obviously no evidence, a 4 is an exemplary level of evidence, and various stages in between. 1 would be beginning, 2 would be developing, and 3 would be proficient. We'd be looking, I believe I said on this, excuse me 1 second, an average score of 3 or higher on the portfolio. Okay, 3 being a proficient level.
They have to get a 3 on each of these, or this says 11 or higher?
So,
Is it based on total, or do they have to have a 3 in each of these?
average of 3 across
okay,
all of
okay.
it. So if you score, let's say, a 2 on something, that doesn't mean you're over and done with. It's, okay? And with various timeframes as well, make sure it's your final copy's handed in by this point, make sure. So with that, so I pull up my various tabs here, they will have to hand that in to myself or my designee. We'll have to keep it on file, obviously. The idea is that if they are not a senior, it's done in June, I believe. And if they are a senior, it's done by May 1st, to provide that time so it can be kind of looked at, essentially graded, and there's a little window for feedback. Should the senior not meet those requirements just yet, there would be a window there for feedback to say, you haven't quite met this yet, what else you got? Again, providing an avenue for every student to kind of get to that diploma. So, do you want me to elaborate any further, or do you have questions? So I've been going for a little bit.
I have one.
Go ahead.
I think it's 1. Okay, so do they have to elect which one of these they're choosing, or is it just as they go and they're taking their STAR and their exams, and if those don't go well, they could opt for their portfolio? How does that work?
Excellent question. So they have to sit for their mid-years and finals anyways, and they have to take them anyways. So you might as well do your best on that just to see if that avenue's already checked off. Okay? STAR testing we do anyways. So you might as well do your best on that just in case to perhaps check that off. If for some reason either one of those are not checked off, we still have this avenue that you can go down. So I don't necessarily consider this like a first resort. It's kind of like your net to catch all, if you will, should a student not be successful.
And there's going to be a lot of education that we need to do with families and with students
Yes.
on this. And the department's building the plane as they're flying it. And it wouldn't come as a surprise to a lot of us who saw where this is going if we were back here in the spring or the fall of next year with another proposal for how students are going to show mastery in the competency. But we found out about this late spring, early summer, and again, we have through December 31st to put a plan in place. And what school districts are doing, they're trying to find a way that kids can have those multiple pathways to showing it. And again, like Rob is correct, you just don't want to put it on the midterm and the final. And if you have a child who takes the midterm and gets a 20 on it, then you know what the math needs to be on the final for that average to be 65. So now in January, you start focusing in on the STAR. You've already had 2 STAR assessments, so you'll know where a kid stands. Then you might have to say, well, it's February 1, we're going to go the portfolio route with you. So again, it's a lot of tracking for our counseling department and for Rob and for Desi with each of the kids. But again, it's a lot of communication, a lot of information that we need to push out to families and to students once we get this not only approved by you, but then also approved by the department.
And is there a reason the class grade is not a consideration? Like, did Desi put out something that says like it
It's a good question.
Okay.
I actually have an answer to that. So during the webinar, actually, that was one of the more prolific questions that was out there. The Department of Ed didn't answer it clearly. Their answer to that, when that question was posed, was we have the right to audit. That was their answer. If you do that, we have the right to audit.
Okay.
Well, if you think about like the Every Student Succeeds and all that stuff, like I could say Paul Vera was an A+ aerospace engineer and he had no clue what he was doing.
Right.
No, I don't know, you might.
You went with a good subject matter, thank you. But at least now with the midterm and the final, you can produce an artifact that backs the passing grade, where a 68 could just be a passing grade for a final grade could just be arbitrary. Then how do you go back and actually audit that?
Okay.
It also too provides us, if a child, for instance, for whatever reason, doesn't show that competency, and a parent comes and says, the teacher hated my child, that's why they got a 64. We don't have a leg to stand on, but now we can say, well, look, here are the midterms and the finals, and you have the data to back it up.
I didn't a couple minutes ago, so I just want you to know. It just came to me. So what goes on with virtual high school? So if you're in those courses.
So those courses aren't typically our core courses.
Okay.
They're elective courses.
Okay.
So they don't really play much of a role in this whole
It's
aspect.
only for the core courses that you need to graduate.
Correct.
Okay.
May I?
Yep.
I think it's more of a comment than a question, but I'll try to make it a question. So if I'm not mistaken, I mean, this really isn't anything different than the MCAS because they were hinging, that was the graduation requirement, was for students to pass both ELA and math with a certain score number. And if they couldn't, for whatever reason, there was a portfolio review. So like if you were a special education student or if you were in a sub-separate program.
An EPP.
Yes, it was called an EPP. So essentially what we're doing is wash, rinse, repeat, and we're just taking like portfolio and it's really just an EPP. Is that correct?
If that's what you'd like to call it, then.
So to answer the question is correct. So
Okay.
as I've joked with Rob, the easy thing to do would be if the state came up with a test that just allowed kids to show mastery and gave the kids the test 3 times a year, that would solve this whole problem. Unfortunately, that's not available. So when kids would take the MCAS and not pass it, you would do the EPP, which was showing mastery in these additional.
portfolio, right? Through artifacts.
Portfolio. It's
Okay.
one of the ways to do it, correct.
And can I ask a secondary question? This is not my realm. I know nothing about MCAS. Now, I know that local graduation requirements, like through a school committee, can really be anything. And so it was my understanding that, or question, could you still make the MCAS a graduation requirement? Or did DESE specifically say that you couldn't?
During the webinar, the Department of Ed's lawyers said it is not recommended.
One of the things that came out through the department, through various attorneys, were the voters voted not to have that as a graduation requirement. So then for school departments and school committees to go against the wishes of the majority and reinstate it optically wouldn't look great. So that was the feedback that we got from our attorneys and from DESE, and I don't want to be the test case. for it, saying that the voters said this doesn't count, and now you're making it count.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Can you remind me, when MCAS was the requirement, did they only have to pass math and ELA, or did they have to pass all 4 of these?
They had to pass math, ELA, and science.
But not, because there's
Social
something else.
studies.
So
Not,
history,
so this is an additional,
so they want this year's current juniors to have to show mastery in 1 year of US history.
okay.
Does it specify the year?
I am using the exact language that they used with us, is 1 year of US history. We offer 2 years of US history in our schools, so we do have kind of like a couple of opportunities there, I believe. And then kind of move forward from there.
So once you get through this senior and junior class, this potentially will be more simplistic for you and your staff to carry out over the years.
That is the hope.
Okay. I'm just like future thinking of like what you have to do to.
Unless
okay.
the department comes up with something
Yes.
next year, which they probably will.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in case they add additional class requirements or anything else.
They're about consistency. The Department of Education is an office of compliance, right? That's what they do. And now you have 351 communities submitting 351 different plans. One of the reasons they liked the MCAS exam was that it was consistent across the entire Commonwealth. So that diploma, that passing grade in Douglas was equivalent to that in Lexington, which was equivalent to that in Northbridge, which was equivalent to that in North Adams. Now you have 351 different plans for students showing mastery, and you're submitting that to a department that is based on and rooted in compliance and equity. This will change in the near future.
So we'll approve this policy and then have to come back to it, most likely, in future years.
Most likely, yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
They like to riddle policy with procedure.
Yes. Well, first of all, this was a lot of information, and I appreciate how you put it in there visually, because it helps a lot. A couple things in my brain. So, kids, I'm just wondering how, I mean, we're gonna have to do a lot of, obviously, Dr. Villar said teaching, but there's an MCAS alt portfolio versus a portfolio for this, and how do we determine the difference in those? And I'm just gonna be completely honest, like, my kid ain't doing it, because they're not gonna get this, and, like, if a child isn't gonna get it anyway,
So-
like, how,
So every kid needs to sit for the MCAS essentially, right? So that's state law, that's federal law, we still have that. That's nothing we can change for that. So for the MCAS alt, that's for that year's
do they
sophomores.
have to sit for it, or does the district have to offer it?
They have to, federal law says every state needs a standardized test to give, and
There's some people who've pushed the opting out of it, which, again, there's money tied to that, so,
And, because like, well, I'll talk.
Yeah.
We can, I'm just wondering, like, this isn't a Douglas thing. This is not, we're doing the best we can with what we have. I'm just thinking, like, my sophomore, I don't believe that the level of effort for the MCAS is not gonna care.
the level of we got our results for the MCAS, and we did a webinar with the Department of Education. By and large, across the state, numbers are down, especially at the high school level. They're down. It's tough to tell a 16-year-old student to sit for 3 hours and take a test that they know doesn't mean anything, right? And then, so we're seeing it at the middle schools and at the high school levels. The elementaries scores were lower, but not as low as we saw at the high school and the middle school. So again, we'll be back here again the end of this year, beginning of next year, with MCAS information, because the department prides itself in being the top 2 or 3 in the nation, and now the test results of students who know this test doesn't count aren't reflecting that. This is highly political.
Very much so. On the backs of our kids and our teachers
Correct.
and our administrators.
On everyone, yep.
No, thank you.
And that's why we do 3 readings.
Yes. Anyone else?
Nope, I'm good. I think we're all good. I think we've all talked about this. We got reading number 1 done.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you.
And just the last thing on my agenda, I had a lovely meeting yesterday with Representative McKenna, and I asked him to send me some dates on Wednesday that he could come to a school committee. He's going to do that. What he did said is that Wednesday are his meeting days in Boston, and they start when they start. Sometimes they get out at noon, sometimes they get out 3, sometimes they get out at 2 in the morning. So he said, please put me on an agenda, but just know that if at 5 o'clock I'm still in session, I can't leave. So he's gonna send me some dates, and hopefully within the next 2 or 3 meetings, he'll be here. But that's it for my report.
Thank you so much. Over to the school committee and the subcommittee accounts payable report.
All right, good evening. Accounts payable, warrants approved, warrant numbers 10 SCH 26, 10 SCHL 26, and 10 MEL S 26 with a warrant date of 9/11 and 9/12/25 for a total amount of $71,209.13. All were reviewed and approved by me. Becky DeMarco. And then secondly, accounts payable warrants 11 SCH 26 and HS 26-2 on warrant date 9/18/25 in the total amount of $137,550.72, all reviewed and approved by myself.
Thank you so much. Moving on to the consent agenda and the September 17th meeting minutes. If nobody has an issue, I'll be looking for a motion.
Motion to approve, Becky DeMarco.
Motion made by Becky, seconded by Meg. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thank you. Moving on to the business and operations report.
There are no transfers or reclassifications tonight, but I did want to speak to you just to kind of give you a heads up. It is budget season. We actually spoke about it at our leadership meeting this morning, so we are kicking it off. Wanted to
First one,
go, yeah, very excited. Did want to mention to you all that we will be talking at length about different fees, athletic fees, preschool tuition, and facility rental fees. Reasons around it, rising cost of goods and services, just the economic state that we are in now. We know our budget's going to be a bit tight this year, as we've been talking about over the past, I know Courtney really had kind of set everybody up for what this budget might look like this year. Other reasons are kind of taking a look at the background of our fees. You know, athletic fees back in 2017 were as high as $300, and they've been slowly decreasing. Right now, there are caps and family caps depending on team sports and how many they play. You know, could it be anywhere around $180 starting just for one sport? You know, so for the vitality of the sports, of our general fund, we're going to look at some different options of how we want to run the fees, which would include increasing fees. Maybe we take some of the expenses that we have, some of our transportation expenses, you know, to go to the events, could put those over into the revolving account as opposed to having them come out of the general fund to help kind of balance the budget. Facilities. Outside of our town of Douglas, we actually have somebody in renting our space now, a larger group. They are nonprofit. For 3 hours, they're spending $50. It's something that we might want to look at. It doesn't even cover the cost. Jeff spent 3 hours with them trying to set up lights. So, and you know, at the end of the day, we're getting about $600 from them over the course of time and the maintenance and everything on the field. So I would, recommend that we take a look at those fees as well. Preschool, last time that the fees were raised was in 2022. What we're going to do with that is we're really going to look around. We want to be competitive, but, economically affordable for our families. So we're going to do some digging and make sure that we are doing the best for our families while trying to balance the program to see what else we can support teacher-wise, expense-wise with the program. So modest increases are what we're looking at. We'll take a look through as we're going through the budget. We'll take a look around to see what our families can withstand and to see what other communities are doing.
I was waiting for the modest increases.
Yes.
We're not looking, and, I think right now user fees for athletics are $180. We're not looking to go to $500. We're looking at a slight increase to be competitive, and as Courtney alluded to when she was here last year, we haven't raised those user fees in athletics for years, but our costs have continued to go up, which is a further drain on the general fund. So we're going to do the analysis, and we're coming to you now about it because although we typically do user fees in May or June, we want to have that information as we're preparing the budget. Additionally, Cindy puts out, because Cindy, she puts out her program and her information for preschool in January, so we kind of have to have things kind of resolved by December, January, so we can start advertising and marketing for preschool then. So we're just kind of setting the stage now for that conversation.
Will we know that if we're gonna move the schools around so that Cindy knows what her availability will be?
She will know, yeah.
So okay.
To piggyback off of that question, do we already have those public meetings scheduled? Are those available?
Public meetings for what?
For moving the schools?
We're not even close to that. So,
okay.
So the first part, like, as I said, we're just doing fact-finding now. I've probably talked to 10, 15 superintendents. Rob and Bob are talking to building principals. I've had conversations with staff. We're just looking to see, is it even feasible? Like, what would it look like? Some of the things we're talking about, we'll just start with preschool. We know we're gonna have to add a teacher, maybe 2 teachers. Can we absorb that within our budget? Or can the town help support us in absorbing that? What does that look like? Is that something that we can do next year, or is that something that might take 2 or 3 years for us to build the capacity to do that? Those are all the things we're looking at before we go into doing a massive move like this. What does it look like moving the 8th grade from the middle school to the high school? We had a meeting with BVT. They're redoing their formula. They're going before their school committee for a complete restructure of how they look at not only the lottery, but how they're appropriating slots per district. And that could change somewhat of the narrative as well, too. So we're examining all that, and then my vision would be to come to the committee sometime in November with, yes, we're thinking we're going to go forward with this, and if we do, then we would host those forums in November, December, or you know what, we're going to hit pause for a little bit, or we're going to hit pause for a year, and then pivot from there. But right now, we're just trying to figure some stuff out as to what does it look like. And the reason I came forward to you and the reason I sent the email out to families is, in order for us to get information, you have to talk to people. And I didn't want to talk to people without being transparent that this is something we're thinking about doing.
I'm glad we talked about when those meetings are, because I think on some of the Facebook chats, there was a little confusion on how you were collecting. So hopefully now it's...
Yeah, I haven't even started collecting information for families. I need to look internally as to what the capacity is. How much is the cost of the move? Is that something we can absorb within our own budget, or do we need to meet with the town? I'm going to the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee in October just to tell them about the thought, the vision, just so they understand what's going on. I've already met with Mr. Wojcik once on this, just so he knows what's going on. Again, I want to be transparent, but I don't know where we're going. Principals are doing their fact-finding of what this looks like and how the move happens, and even just small things, and then we'll move on. We currently rent out 2 classroom spaces to before and after school care at the primary school. Someone said, well, if you're looking for 2 classroom spaces, why don't we just move them somewhere else, right? Which makes sense. Is that would free up 2 classrooms. Well, the moving would be to the elementary school. So then the conversation starts happening, well, where would they go in the elementary school? How many flights of stairs can a preschool, we don't have preschool, can a kindergarten or first grade? They have specific requirements for the classrooms. All the classrooms have to have sinks, have to be close to a bathroom. So if we move them, can we physically move them? Do we say, you know what? We can't move you, we're gonna take the loss of revenue for that program. Do we wanna take a loss of revenue for that program? Not only the revenue, but the service to our families who rely on that before and after school care. So again, those are all the conversations that we're having before we even decide to take that next step, to meet with the community, to meet with staff, and get some more input. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's a big ask.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Any other questions about where we are with the budget and potential of user fee increases and where we're going?
Through the chair.
Yep.
This is going to be a larger discussion, I imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Do we know when we'll be discussing these user fees?
Probably in November.
In November, okay. And if they were to go into effect, it would be for the next year?
It'd be for the next school year.
Okay.
Correct. We just didn't want this to come as a surprise.
I'll have lots to say
anyone.
that, don't worry.
Yeah, I know where we're going with this. I didn't want this to come as a surprise, and I know Courtney had talked about it, and I talked to Ms. Landry. I said, let's at least talk to the school committee so they know this is on the horizon. It's always a tough conversation to have when you're raising fees for people and you're charging people more than what they were used to paying. And we've typically had this quick discussion for preschool in January, and then on May 29th, before the school year ends, we're rushing and doing sports fees. And we want to do this thoughtful. We want to be mindful of it. We want to look to see what else is out there, what other schools are doing. And we also kind of want to see the impact on the general budget. So we're just prepping people that the conversation's coming, so it's not, hey, here's the conversation. Can we vote in a minute on it?
Definitely appreciated.
Anything else?
I had nothing else, Madam. Thank you.
Any topics not anticipated?
I do not have anything.
I'd be looking for a motion.
I move to close the October 1st school committee meeting at 7:52.
Motion made by Beth, seconded by?
Greg?
Seconded by Meg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.